Hey everybody, it's Greg LaBeouf. Hey, listen, welcome to another episode of Awaken the ProtectR Within. Hey, for me, it's Monday morning. Had a phenomenal weekend. Had one of our training teams in all weekend. Got to do a lot of training. It was great. I hope you had a great week and hope you're having a great Monday morning. But listen, I jumped in the car to go out and run a few errands. And it reminded me of an analogy that I use in one of my presentations. And I want to share this with you because you see, there's really kind of two sides of ourselves. And the analogy I use is I ask people often, who is driving your inner self? And really, there's only two choices. It is either their personal self or the professional self.
So the big question was this: what do good people do when a society's laws and institutions fail to keep them safe from aggression and violence? How do you get through a growing number of angry, hateful, aggressive people and still remain physically, mentally, and emotionally strong and positive? That was the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Greg LaBeouf, and welcome to Awaken the ProtectR Within.
Okay, so I said that I was reminded of this analogy, and that I ask people, especially when I do this presentation for corporations, but it is really who is driving our inner selves. And I said that there's really kind of only two options. There's the professional side of yourself, and then there's the personal side of yourselves. And see, for so many people, they get up, Monday morning represents the beginning of a brand new work week. So how many millions of people woke up Monday morning and went off to work? And you see, they did it without ever thinking about who is driving their inner self. Now, I often in my analogy, I'll say this. I say, listen, if you went to a construction site, almost anywhere in North America, and you went on that site and you tried to find a worker on that construction site that was not wearing their PPE, their protective equipment, which means they didn't have steel-toed boots on, they didn't have their yellow vest on, they didn't have their safety glasses when needed, or their hard hats, or their gloves, it would be very difficult to find somebody who did not go to work today in that profession of construction and not have on safety gear. If you went and found any active law enforcement officer who went to work this morning, you would find them wearing their body armor. If you went into any lab, anywhere, whether it's compounding pharmacists or whoever it is, and they're working with chemicals that are potentially harmful to themselves, they would have on the proper protective gear. Yet, millions of people went to work this morning and are going to places of business, are going to interact with other people all day long who are under the influence of aggression and depression and stress and anxiety, and they're expressing through tormenting and bullying and violence and aggressive behavior. You see, we must protect ourselves against these individuals that are expressing, that are chronically under the influence. There are people that walk in. Matter of fact, on the weekend, I also did a webinar, but one of the questions was, how do I deal with somebody that walks into my place of business that is looking for a fight, looking for a verbal fight? It's like they won't be denied. No matter what you say, no matter how well you play it, these people are looking for a confrontation. Okay, here. You see, when we go out and say, who is driving your inner self? It is important for us to understand the differences between the professional side of ourselves and the personal side. Too many people walk out and it is the personal self that is in charge, that is driving their vehicle. Now, the personal side of ourselves is awesome, right? It is the side of ourselves that we share with the people closest to us. It's what we share with our closest friends and our family and our loved ones. It is, all our values, all these things, and that's great. But I want you to understand that the point of today's podcast is to share with you some of the vulnerabilities of the personal self. And you see, the personal self is prone to something that we call naturalism. Well, what does that mean? The personal side of ourselves, when it comes to conflict, when it comes to dealing with, whether it's your, kids dealing with bullies, when it comes to adults dealing with bullies and tormentors and people that are aggressive and violent, when it comes to all of this, the personal self is prone to naturalism, which means when somebody is rude, inappropriate, aggressive, or violent towards us, the personal side of ourselves is the side of ourselves that can get sucked in. It is, you see, when difficult people are trying to push our buttons, the personal self, the naturalism, has big, massive buttons. Very easy to find, very easy to push, which means that what happens is the personal self will have a natural thought. See, imagine when you're at work and you are a professional, you see yourself as a professional, but when you're at work and somebody comes in and they're rude and they're inappropriate and they're aggressive to you, to coworkers, to other patrons or clients, whatever it is, you will have a natural thought. And that thought will be, what is this person's problem? It's like, what do they think and they act like they're entitled to say or do anything, to treat people however they want. You see, that is a natural thought that starts to bubble up inside of me. Okay, I want to try and keep this somewhat clean because there's a lot of other natural thoughts. This person is acting or is such a beep hole. Okay, so that is a natural thought. But see, when we have a natural thought, that natural thought leads to a natural feeling. And that feeling, when you're thinking you're dealing with somebody who's treating you and saying things to you that are so rude, so inappropriate, so aggressive, our natural thoughts go, what is this person's problem? And the natural feeling comes up of what? Depends, but it could be frustration, it could be anger, it could be humiliation, it could be fear, it could be anxiety and stress because you're like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this? This person's making a scene, embarrassment, all humiliation, all these different emotions can start to come. You see, the personal self is prone to natural thoughts, which then lead to natural feelings, which ultimately can result in the use of natural language. You see, this all bubbles up, and at some point, there's a breaking point where, like a volcano, the personal self erupts out. And what happens is you say something, and you say it in one of two ways. You say something that is a gross overreaction. You say something equally, well, actually, no, you tend to go more, but you say something that is rude, inappropriate, or aggressive, or potentially even violent back to the person. That's a gross overreaction. Or you have a gross underreaction. You go submissive. You see, but it erupts out of you because the personal self is prone to these natural reactions. And that's the point I want to focus in on. When we go out and we go to work, when we go out to live our lives and we don't check, we don't understand, we don't say, listen, who is driving my inner self? It's the personal self. And the personal self is the side that is prone to all of this naturalism. It is the side of you that will get, with much greater ease, sucked into a natural reaction. You see, somebody says something, and they say something rude to me, and all of a sudden, I fire right back at them. I says, yeah, well, look at you. And I fire right back at them. What was that? Did that help me resolve the situation? Did that help me, achieve or get the result that I was looking for? Especially if I'm the professional in that situation, especially if it's my place of business or my business. You see, the onus is on me now because you see what just blurts out of my mouth can cost me. It can cost me personally. You can end up losing your job. More people have been fired for spoken words, things that they have said, than things that they have done. I guarantee you that. But where did it erupt from? You say, well, that person deserved it. They can't come in here and do this and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's right, man. You know what? People are operating under the influence. People walk around and say and do things today like they have a sense of entitlement. And often, and unfortunately, they don't get the repercussions always. They walk into these places of business, they see somebody who's smiling, happy, enjoying their day, and they make it their mission to wipe the smile off people's face. They won't accept. Doesn't matter how professional you are. They are looking for that verbal confrontation. They are looking to suck you into conflict, to press your buttons. And how they do that is by poking at the personal side of yourself. They get you to have the natural thought. Then they get you to know, they know that if they get you to have a natural thought, they get you pissed off, that you're going to have a natural feeling. And they know that the natural thought, the natural feelings ultimately going to lead to you having a natural reaction because you use natural language, and then they own you. Even if they don't get what they wanted, they're happy because they got you into conflict. So see, we have to be aware who is driving the personal self or who's driving your inner self. We cannot allow the personal self to be behind our wheel that way. It is prone to those natural reactions. So, of course, the solution is what? The professional self. The professional self is the side of ourselves that is trained and restrained. It is the side of ourselves that has professional presence. And there is a way to cultivate this and to develop this so that it is a usable tool, so that, like a construction worker who puts on his safety boots, like he puts on his hard hat, or the police officer that wears the body armor, or the compounding pharmacist that puts on the proper, uses the right type of gloves and wears the type of protective clothing, we must go in and say, I have this professional side of myself that I have developed, that I understand and that I use, and I put that on every day before I go into my work, before I start my job, because I know that I'm going to deal at some point today with somebody who's under the influence. Stress, anxiety, fear, depression, aggression, chronic pain, extremism, mental health issues, whatever it is. And when those people begin to express, often for no reason, when they begin to express through bullying, tormenting, being rude, inappropriate, aggressive, or violent, It will not be the personal self that is behind my inner dialogue, my inner self that is driving. It will be my professional self, and that will allow me to respond and take the appropriate actions. And I will therefore prevent them from manipulating and pushing my buttons and sucking me into a natural reaction, right? Here's the thing. Amateurs always react. Professionals always respond or take action. So, Monday morning, here we go, the beginning of a new work week. It is imperative that we ask ourselves and we understand who is driving our inner self when we step out to begin a new work week. All right, everybody, listen, I will, in future podcasts, I will break down all of the different ways that we can cultivate the professional self. Everyone has it within them, but there are ways that we can make professionalism and our professional presence way more tangible, and we can use it as a figurative mental and emotional armor, and we call that process armoring up. And I look forward to sharing some of those concepts with you in future podcasts. But for today, I just wanted to introduce you to the Achilles heel of the personal self, and that is the naturalism. All right, everybody, listen, enjoy your work week, enjoy your day. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much. Share this, rate this, comment on this. We love all of it. And again, as always, please stay safe, stay ready, and remember, getting off that X is only one step away.
Want to awaken your protector within? If so, then head to awakentheprotectorwithin.ca and get your free Off the X training today.